All right, shalom, shalom. For the foremost, I'm going to start by saying, Call Allah Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Chakwadash, which give all praise to the Heavenly Father, and the Son, the word ignorantly calls God in Jesus Christ. I also give double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do real well, teaching me the truth, as well as say shalom to the hopeful elect, or the I can push this word in truth and in sincerity. And Lord willing, be edifying lesson, man, going to this Daniel 7, which, of course, this chapter details and outlines the four major heathen empires that was prophesied to rule in the earth, right? While Daniel was amidst the Babylonian captivity, right? The Lord gave him this vision, right? And ultimately, you go into these four empires, right, which are likened to beasts in this chapter, right? It goes into what the Assyrian Babylonian Empire, right, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greeks, and the Romans, right? And what is written that fourth beast was from the Roman Empire would be extended, and it had that little horn come from it, which is goes into America, right? Right, because that's exactly what America was, man. When Esau rose back into power, right? In the late early 1400s, right, in Europe, he ultimately, his power stretch ultimately ended up reaching over here into America and him growing his empire to what it is now, right? That's when you go into the Renaissance period. That's what it was all about, man, right? That word Renaissance means a rebirth or revival, man, right? It's literally the reincarnation of that Roman way, of those Roman philosophies, practices, holidays, etc. So, but what ultimately it was written that all those kingdoms be temporal, right? It's about going to right here. It says Daniel 7:12, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, right? Because ultimately all these other kingdoms that the Lord set up were gonna last forever, man. All right, they got their due time to rule, right, and had dominion in the earth, but it was only gonna be for a short stint. Right, it wasn't gonna be forever. It was gonna be forever as the kingdom of heaven that gets established, man, on earth, right? Because that's what is next to come after this fourth kingdom, right? Like I said, I made mention of this fourth beast, right, that we're still currently in, right? Again, starting with the Roman Empire and then that deadly wound being healed, as it tells you in Revelation 13th chapter, right, referring to the fall of Rome and then them coming back into power again, which all Esau, right? Because starting at the time of the Greeks, this has been Esau's rule, right? This has been his world, right? And he's been able to, for his way, his agenda, his practices, his beliefs, right, all onto the entire earth. You could say what the hand be given, the earth be given to the hand of the wicked, man, right? And that's what's happened. So Esau has been in the power seat for this time. And the Lord's going to remove them, man, in the very near future. It says, as concerning for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, right? I was talking about Yahushua, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory, right? And this is going to what's going to happen, right? It's getting ready to be a translation of power, right? Also, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is getting ready to set up his only begotten Son, Yahushua, as the dominion and authority in the earth, man. And by way of that, then righteousness can go forth and be that standard as the Lord always intended it to be, right? Always going back to the time of the garden, man. All right, that's where you get the name Eden from. Okay, and in the Hebrew is Aidan, which means joy or paradise. That's what the Lord always intended life on earth to be, man. All right, it wasn't supposed to be a constant vexation. It wasn't meant to be a gloominess and sorrow and mourning and people just being in a lowly state of mind, right? Being in a lowly state physically, right? This is all the byproduct of having a wicked ruler, right? And the law, such commandments of the Heavenly Father not being upheld. Right, it says in glory and kingdom, in a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. Right, so this is getting ready to happen, man. The Lord is getting ready to set Yahushua along with those the elect of the nation of Israel, man. Whereas 144,000, that's Scripture telling Romans 8 chapter, who be joint heirs with him, man. Right, and those joint heirs are being gathered right now. Right, you go to Revelation the 7th chapter. That's what it goes into. It goes into 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel being gathered, right? Because that's literally what the kingdom of heaven consists of. Contrary to popular belief, it's not going to be just us floating in the clouds with the one big golden gate and people trying to get in. And no, the very that's all just a Greek mythology, man, right? And Esau is just confusion he spreads to the majority of people. But really, no, it's actually the kingdom of heaven that's going to be just that, a literal kingdom, man. Just like you've had all the different empires, kingdoms of old, right? Solomon's kingdom was a great example of this, right? Because Solomon's rule was a foreshadowing or a prequel, if you will, to what was to come, man. Ultimately, what the kingdom of heaven, which is a kingdom that will never have an end, will consist of. Which in Matthew 19, let me get that real quick before I go back to this. This is Matthew chapter 19 and verse 28. It says, and Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, right, again, going to the Son of Man, talking Yahushua, it says, when he shall sit on the throne of his glory, as we're going into in Daniel 7, right, because he's going to sit on the throne of his glory, right, when he is set to rule, right, this was how the Heavenly Father always intended to be, all right, he was used his only begotten Son as that acceptable sacrifice, right, in his time when he walked the earth in the flesh, and now ultimately, he's going to bring him back, all right, to literally be the true ruler of the earth, man. He's gonna bring him back and set him up to be that one with the ultimate dominion, man, and authority and ultimate glory. It says, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, he also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, right? The 12 tribes, 12 thrones. That's what the constant scriptures constantly go into, man. All right, that chosen, that elect, those 12 tribes, man. That's what the Lord is dealing with, the nation of Israel, chiefly his elect amongst the nation of Israel, man. Those who he's gathering in this time period right now, all right? So going back to the Daniel 7, it says, and bring back 14, it says, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages shall serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away. Right? It's never going to have an end, man. It is very clearly and plainly written right here is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away. And what's the major reason for that, man? Why? Because there will no longer be a purpose to it. The reason why the Lord has allowed us to fall constantly, time and time again, is because we've been sinning, man. So we have to constantly suffer those wages of sin, which pursuing the Romans 6:23 is death, man. So that's why we're in this corruptible flesh. That's why we're in these chains of darkness. That's why we constantly fall and go off. That's why we're constantly subject to the hands of all of our enemies, right? Due to our own disobedience to the Heavenly Father. But in this time period, in this coming salvation, the Lord is getting ready to deliver us from out the hands of our enemies, from out the hands of all those that hate us, and most importantly, he's getting ready to deliver us from out of this corruptible flesh. So what? We can actually be perfect as he always intended, man, right? So we can actually be incorruptible. So we can actually be immortal, right? Now the 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter goes into, right? It goes into us being made perfect, all right? And that's changed in a snapping of a twinkling of an eye, man, all right? So quick to where you blink, you'll miss it. All right, that's what the Lord's getting ready to do. It says, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that shall not be destroyed, right? Because they're not going to be able to conquer the nation of Israel at that point, man, right? It was divine intervention that the Heavenly Father allowed all these other nations to come up over us, man, right? And guess what? It's going to be divine intervention. He removes us from out that power and sets us up to be on a completely different level than all the rest of these nations, man. All right, to a point where there's nothing they could do that would ever be able to knock the nation of Israel from off the throne, man, from off that pedestal the Lord's getting ready to place us upon. It says, it should never be destroyed, man, because, it's never going to be a time period where, 1,000 years into the kingdom, 2,000 years, or now that kingdom's over. Now that's going to fall, then another rulership is going to come into place, come into power. Then Moab is going to raise in the power, then Ishmael. Then no, man. Well, once this final kingdom is established, is going to be the end, man. And that's how we're able to get an understanding of the times we're living in, because, again, this Daniel 7 is one of my favorite chapters, and it's very significant in understanding prophecy, understanding timelines, and what 2nd Esdras 9:1, and measuring the time diligently in itself, because that's why you can get an idea of what times you're living in, man. You can get an idea as to what's going on. You could truly hasten that day to come. It's 2nd Esdras 9:1. It says, he answered me then and said, measure that of time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, right? The sign pass, when you see these different prophecies, right? Well, what does prophesy mean, right? It means to speak before, right? Pro meaning before, sign meaning to speak. So that's what you're doing, man. You're speaking these things before they actually come. The Lord put that certain spirit upon particular men, right? He reveals his secrets to certain servants of prophets, as is written. And that's exactly what happens, man, right? He sends them out to forewarn his people that things are ready to come. And then we actually see these different things happening. You're filtering the prophecies through the current events that's taking place on the earth. You can get that understanding. To know what? Verse 2, it says, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So that's the question everyone wants to ask, right? When's the Lord coming back? When's the Lord going to return? Right? When is God going to come back to the earth? Well, it's written clearly right here, right? You need to measure the times diligently, different events taking place in the earth, to filter through different prophecies is written to get that understanding, man, right? Going back to Daniel 7, right? Because that's how you know, because we're at the end of this last beast, at the end of this last heathen kingdom or empire, that's how you know the Lord's going to set his only begotten son's empire, right? It says, verse 15, back in Daniel 7:15, says, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known the interpretation of these things, right? And also, see right here, he's about, I believe it's the angel, I believe it's Gabriel who's giving down this vision right here, if I'm not mistaken. And here it is. He about to fully expound. Cause that's the thing about the scripture, man. Oftentimes when it's a parable or it's a vision or something that may not be plainly written, it'll break it down later on in the chapter, right? What it's getting ready to do right here. It says what? This is what the angel told Daniel. It says, these great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth, man. Right? So these are the four major kingdoms going to rise from out of the earth, man. It says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever, man. Right? So this is getting ready to happen, man. The Lord's getting ready to give the power to his saints, man. Right? Which who are the saints, man? Those who made a covenant with the Heavenly Father by sacrifice. Right? It tells you that in Psalms 50 and 5. Right? This is who the Lord is dealing with all throughout the scriptures. The point is constantly reiterated, and the Lord is constantly harping on that point. He put the spirit on these different men to scribe this thing down so we can have it in these latter times, man. Right? So we can be comforted, man. Right? We can have that comfort of knowing who we are, know what our history is, where we come from, where we descend from, our lineage, our heritage, and what that ultimately means for us in the long run, man. And in the very near future and forever and ever to come. Right? It means everlasting dominion and rulership, right, as a joint heir the Heavenly Father's only begotten Son, man, Yahweh Shai. All right, and that's a great honor that the Lord is getting ready to bestow upon the nation of Israel. So, all these things coming in the very near future, right? It's about enduring, all right, and actually hearkening unto this word while you can, right? Well, real quick, let's get this in Isaiah. I'll probably close with this. Isaiah 55:6 says, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Right? You're supposed to be moving hastily. Scriptures say in Sirach, the 5th chapter, make no turn to the Lord, man. Right? As soon as you hear this gospel, you hear this good news, the Lord calls you into this marvelous light, you're supposed to hearken to the best of your ability, man. Seek after the truth, man. You're supposed to be, just settle, on your leaves and just completely at ease with this place, man. Right? Not having an issue what things are going on. Scripture say what? Who will rise up for me against evildoers? Who will stand with me against the workers of iniquity? The Lord wants to see who's going to have an issue with this place. He's going to want to forward his way, the ways of righteousness, man. He has to have an issue with the wickedness that's going forth in the world, man. Right? This present evil world that we're currently subject to. It says, let the wicked forsake his way, and let the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our power, for he will abundantly pardon, man. So the Lord is getting ready to abundantly pardon a particular number of men, right? And 144,000, that number is, man. All right, as long as the 1/3 multitude, men, women, and children, all right, who will be saved through those elect men. But again,